I have to admit that I love the Mediterranean. It's my kind of climate. Not too hot, sunny and clear. I'm looking up at the place we booked and thinking, there's going to be a great view from up there. Meanwhile, there's a great view from down here. We're in Sliema, and this is Masamshet Harbour with the colourful boats and blue sea. It's the 23rd of June at 11:43 in the morning, and it's a hot, dry day with a little breeze and as clear as can be. I've walked across the road while we're waiting for the food to get my first shots, and already I'm thinking to myself, we're gonna make a great film here. We are soon in our Airbnb, sitting on the balcony and surveying the scene that we will enjoy for 3 days. Beautiful. Malta is smack bang in the middle of the sea that is in the middle of the land, if you see what I mean. It has a fascinating history that not only makes it a great place to explore, but a great place to soak in history. We're in Sliema, overlooking the capital, Valletta, that already beckons. From the balcony we can see Valletta and the tourist boats and ferries, and thought it was a good way to start the holiday. From up here we get a great view over Masamshet Harbour, Manol Island and the fort opposite, and Valletta in the distance. So off we went, getting glimpses of typical Maltese architecture on the way. We soon found a harbour cruise on a boat that had some shade, but was open to the nice breeze, and the price was good. Nate picked up some drinks, and we got front row seats. Not a cloud in the sky. Nice and warm. Valletta in the distance. Well, we're about to take a tour of the two harbours here. Takes about an hour and a half. Costs €10 a head. And looking forward to the experience. So off we go, our boat guide giving an excellent commentary.
From the east, and of course Malta was no exception. The system of the quarantine originated in the parts of the Mediterranean, was also used to the headquarters of the 10th submarine flotilla.
Malta has a wonderful mix of history and beauty. It seems wherever I look, there's history waiting to be explored, and yet it's a delightful place.
The fort would host a garrison of 500 men and is one of the finest in existence.
This is Fort Manol, built in the 18th century. The steps are not very steep, so knights in armour can ascend easily. It seems the whole of Valletta was fortified against the Ottoman invaders. Even in World War II, Malta was bombarded by German planes. The first time I was here, I read a historical novel entitled The Great Siege, Malta, written by Ernie Bradford, that was an excellent read, set in 1565, when the Ottoman Empire sent an army of 40,000 to invade the island of Malta, then held by the Knights Hospitaller. The Knights, about 700 in number, and an army of about 8,000 local Maltese people withstood the siege and repelled the invaders. It's an exciting blow-by-blow description of the event, and the visitor can still see and visit where it all took place, in Fort St. Elmo and Fort St. Angelo, and right here in these harbours. This is Fort St. Elmo, a strategic part of that siege that was actually captured by the invaders, but with the loss of 8,000 men, and where one of the main leaders, Dragut, was shot and killed. In the end, Jean de Valletta, his knights, and the courageous army of local people withstood, and the invaders left. Valletta's sword, looted in 1798 by Napoleon, and now in the Louvre in Paris, will be loaned to Malta for a time when Valletta is crowned European Capital of Culture for 2018. Later we had the opportunity to visit many of the places we saw from this trip. If this is your first trip to Malta, you will be very impressed by the views that you see. Nate had never been here before, and we had just arrived. For him, it was certainly a wow trip, seeing such diverse sights. The trip enhanced the anticipation factor like a trailer in a movie. The ancient and the modern, not just side by side, but almost entwined together. The cranes actually looking like their feathered namesakes. This part of the harbour, definitely the commercial part. But history never far away. This is Sanglia, another strategic part in the defense of the Great Siege that remained unconquered. As a result, the city was given the title Civitas Invicta, meaning unconquered city, by Grandmaster Valletta. These walls have been witness to great battles almost 500 years ago. Today, it is like they stand proud in their resolve. The Maltese people have certainly much in their history to be proud of. We are to the south of Valletta here, a quiet and beautiful place. And certainly this boat trip was worth its weight in gold as an appetizer to Malta, here in the harbour between Sanglia and Bergu, also known as Vittoriosa. It was from here that the Knights of St. John governed when they first arrived in Malta in 1530, and certainly gives testimony to the prosperity of many of its residents today. The legendary Fort St. Angelo, the headquarters of the knights during the siege, also standing tall and proud. Then the fortifications of Calcara. We've only been here a few hours, but already we've been immersed in the beauty and history of this place. And the commentary on the boat has given insight also into the people and the culture of Malta.
Dates back to the year 1670 and Osman.
In Sliema Bay, about to get the ferry to Valletta, the ancient city of Valletta, and have a look around those amazing streets there. Having already savoured a little of what it has to offer on the boat trip, we now boarded the Sliema ferry to visit Valletta and see what it has in store for us. Certainly from this side of the bay, it appears we're in for a good time. Valletta was the highlight of the trip when I visited in 1970. Many cities have changed drastically during that time, but Valletta looks just the same. Malta has a really great atmosphere, a mixture of Mediterranean, history, and fun. Oh, and shopping. Add to that the ease of getting around and the reasonable prices, and you have a great holiday destination. Welcome to Valletta. Time to explore. We've seen it from the water, now up close. We disembarked right next to its most famous landmark, Fort St. Elmo, and headed up into this ancient city. And the first thing we came across were the horse carriages. So we get a guided tour of Valletta. I have to say the carriage ride was a lot of fun. In the distance, Fort Ricasoli. That was in the film Troy with Brad Pitt. We're visiting the Great Siege Bell, inaugurated by Queen Elizabeth II and the President of Malta in 1992, the 50th anniversary of the awarding of the George Cross for bravery to the island of Malta in 1942. It's rung daily at noon. At the foot of the bell tower is a bronze figure representing the 7,000 who died in the siege. It's a little-known fact that more bombs were dropped on Malta during the siege of World War II in 1942 than on Britain during the Blitz. In the first 6 months of 1942, there was only one 24-hour period without an air raid here. We're on the northern side of Valletta, overlooking the Grand Harbour. The strategic location of Malta in the center of the Mediterranean has meant that it's always been a target in times of war. Then it was time to explore Il Belt, the city. The fascinating historical city has a population of 6,444, but the metropolitan area around it has a population of almost 400,000. It's actually the southernmost capital in Europe. The first thing that one notices is the proliferation of old buildings, some dating from the 16th century. Many built during the rule of the Order of St. John, also known as the Knights Hospitaller. The city is typically Baroque in style, though because of the destruction of World War II, there are a number of newer buildings. The official name given by the Order of St. John was the most humble city of Valletta. The city's magnificent fortifications and the beauty of its Baroque palaces, gardens and churches gave the city its nickname Superbissima, most proud. All I can say is that they can be proud of their humility. If you've been watching my travel videos, you'll know I've been a lot of places. Well, Valletta has to be one of my favorite places to visit. The great weather, the great atmosphere, the food, the people, the history, and the exploring. I love it. We popped into the Carmelite Basilica. Magnificent. Another great joy of Valletta is its alfresco dining. Street cafes, open air, special. So we stopped off to soak in the atmosphere. These quiet interludes are priceless.
We're in St. George's Square. Temperature is a balmy 32 degrees centigrade, but only 55 degrees of humidity. Gonna enjoy a coffee, a cold drink, and a snack.
Valletta is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's the 9th smallest nation on Earth, but does have one of the longest histories, including some buildings reputed to be the world's oldest that are still standing. enjoyed that little interlude, chatted with Nate on how Malta has changed and has not changed since 1970. After that, we walked up to St. John's Square. Just around the corner was the Cafe Cordina. I ate here in 1970, when it was only 133 years old. One gets the choice of outside or inside dining. It's right on Republica Street, the main street of Valletta. And after having a chat with the manager, we strolled down the main street, past St. John's Cathedral, enjoying the sights of what was once one of the great capitals of Europe, and today is no less impressive. We had had a horse and cart ride, but the Valletta train looked like a fun trip. So Nate and I jumped onto it for an evening ride around the city. And it really was a fun ride, watching the world go by and getting interesting glimpses of the city. All kinds of things were happening, and we got to see the tourists, the locals, and the sights, winding its way through the ancient streets, getting glimpses of buildings and people, and getting also a different perspective. It really does go all around the city, starting and ending at St. John's Square, right in the center. The verdict? I liked it even more than the horse and cart ride, and it was certainly cheaper. For taking pictures and shooting video, it was excellent, and the route included all the major sites. Trips like this are a really enjoyable way to see the city and absorb the atmosphere of this laid-back city with a get-up-and-go attitude. The more time I spend in Malta, the more I like it. It was interesting all the way, and by the time the 30-minute trip had finished, we were really glad we'd taken it.
Wonderful.
We then continued our walk and exploration. As the sun set, temperature 30 degrees, humidity 46%, and time for a drink in one of Valletta's prettiest arcades. Some of the places here looked like film sets from movies set in medieval times. I have to say that in some ways it even reminded me of Venice.
Malta has many interesting alleyways, and it's great to be able to come and have a glass of ice peach tea, escape the 30-degree heat, and enjoy the beautiful alleyway that we have here.
The architecture is stunning, even the back streets. We've decided to have dinner, al fresco style, on the main street. Maybe a rabbit stew. we looked for a good place. Some of the restaurants here are stunning. We walked to the end of Republica Street and the medieval gateway to the city before choosing the best place to have dinner. So amidst history, we enjoyed a very nice meal. Not the rabbit stew, but roast lamb.
Valletta is a World Heritage Site and was made so because of the large number of historical buildings found in one place. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable time, and it's great to be able to have a meal in this kind of setting.
A great way to finish a remarkable day in this amazing capital city. We then jumped on a bus and returned to our B&B. A memory for sure.